Well, the main reason we decided to try this experiment where people would wear headphones so we can get a read into their thought process is to really look for some faulty thinking and maybe address some of those things and try to correct it. And in the following hand, I heard something from Josh that I found was very interesting in that I think his thinking was a little bit backwards for his reasoning for making his play. In this hand, Josh is going to straddle, and then we're going to have Brad limp in, and from there, let's take a look. Okay, so it's a $4 straddle from Josh. Brad, who's got the 10-4 spades, we already know Brad is a very loose player. He's going to see a lot of flops, a lot of trashy hands. He's going to call the $4. Now Ted, a little bit more conservative of a player, is going to make it 16. Okay, I had the ace-10 there. I'm not going to call $16 with it.
Normally I wouldn't raise this much with this hand, but with Josh straddling, I know he can have any random cards, and, well, Brad can have any random cards too.
Now, here Ted's thinking is very interesting. Had the blinds been 1 and 2, he's not going to make it $16. But since the blinds were 1 and 2 with a $4 straddle, and he has Brad in there, he's got a marginal hand that he wants to play heads up with Brad there, so it makes some sense. And of course, here we've got Paul's going to add the same 2 cents that I did as far as Ted's range.
I think Ted's range is pretty small here. If I had anything playable, I'd probably play it trying to crack it. I'd say pocket 10s or higher, or ace-queen or higher.
Notice what Paul said right there. He puts Ted on a very, very strong hand, but at the same time says if he had anything playable here, he would call to try and crack it. Okay, so he wouldn't be afraid if he had a hand like pocket 5s or pocket 7s. He would actually welcome this kind of situation so that he could possibly get all of Ted's stack. Now, compare that to what you're going to hear from Josh. Okay, now Josh has found a little pair of 3s.
If it was anybody else, I would probably call.
Okay, he says if it was anybody else, I would probably call. And the reason he's saying that, again, is because he's thinking, well, Ted's a really conservative player, and he probably has me beat. But when you have a hand like pocket 3s, you don't really care if someone has a bigger pair. In fact, that's what you want. You want someone to have aces or kings so that you can flop a set when you're playing deep stack. You know, when you play a hand like 2 3s in a 3-way pot, because it's going to be 3-way, don't forget, we got Brad in there for sure. You're not playing your 3s based on the merit that, well, I'm ahead. It's all dependent upon whether or not you have a hand that might be able to crack something big. So his line of thinking here is this. It's like, well, you know what? I should be careful because Ted probably has a strong hand. Even if Ted didn't have a strong hand, like 9-6 or Queen 5, it's irrelevant, frankly. It's actually worse for him. He'd rather Ted have a strong hand. But again, his thinking is that I should play more conservative in this spot when it's backwards.
I think he's got a bigger pocket pair.
Okay, so as you can see, he says he thinks that Ted has a bigger pocket pair, but if that's the case, he's already got $4 in. It's another $12 to call. I don't really want to focus so much on whether or not you should even call or fold to 3s. It's a pretty marginal call or lay down either way. What I want to focus on, again, is the reason for Josh's lay down. His reasoning behind folding was incorrect.
1 to a straight.
Now we'll see how this hand plays out. We've got Brad here who's got the straight draw. And Ted's completely missed this hand. Now I think $35 is just way too much. He's got position on a novice player, a loose player, who could easily connect with this board. And if Brad does connect with this board, he's not going anywhere, whether you bet 35, 25, 105, or everything you got. So at this point, with the ace-jack high, I mean, you obviously hope it's the best hand, but betting 35 in this situation is unnecessary. The raise was 16 before the flop. A bet of 20 to 22 would have gotten the same kind of information, yet at the same time, kept the pot smaller, allowing him to control it a little bit better. As you're going to see here, Brad's going to make quite a play. Brad now with the 4 in his hand, giving him an open in the straight draw. Get you 3 or an 8. Little does he know a 4 or a 10 would win for him also. Okay, $75. He's check raising him. And Ted doesn't like that. There's no way Ted can call, even against, this is important thing to learn, even against a wild player who does bluff a lot. When the board comes this bad, even though you have ace-jack, you just can't call. There's a million cards that can come off in the Turner River where you're beat, so you just have to dump it. The key, though, is not betting as much as he did. 35 is unnecessary. It's just you don't get any extra value from the 35 than you do the 25. So opt for the 25 in that spot rather than the 35.